The market is falling and we're starting to see articles telling us to sell everything, yet my dividend payments are still rolling in and growing every single month. So in this video, we're going to be taking a deep dive into my dividend portfolio, and you'll be seeing exactly how much dividend income I made in the month of October. To analyze this, we'll be jumping into my do-it-yourself investor toolkit and looking at things like my investment dashboard, my dividend calendar, my daily dividend calendar, and a couple of other things such as how long it will take for me to live off dividends. And like always, if you'd like to be able to download this spreadsheet and join a community of dividend investors, then you can head over to my Patreon page at the link in the description. I'd also like to quickly say thank you to Seeking Alpha for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Now let's go ahead and start the deep dive into my portfolio. Now the first thing I want to talk about is how the market's performed over the past month, and you can see my portfolio value is at an all-time high, and I'll discuss why that is in just a minute. But if we look at Seeking Alpha, we can see the S&P 500 over the past month down almost 4%, and like I pointed out, we're starting to see some very bearish articles of people telling us to sell everything. Now, if you're someone investing in the market looking to make a quick profit, that's obviously really terrible news, but if you're a long-term dividend-focused investor like me, this is absolutely phenomenal news for a few different reasons. I'm someone who had been sitting on a large cash position for quite some time. It typically sits at around 20%, but over the past month, I deployed the most capital I ever have in a single month, putting much of that cash to use as the market has dropped. So I've been able to buy a lot more shares of high quality dividend paying companies that I believe will help me achieve my long-term goal of living off dividends. And while the share price for these companies are dropping, take SCHD for example, we can see over the past month down 5.4%, but because they've been dropping in share price, their starting dividend yield has been climbing, and the starting dividend yield for SCHD is now sitting at 3.91%. So not only are we able to buy more shares of these companies at lower prices, we're able to get in at a much higher starting dividend yield. Keep in mind that I'm also reinvesting my dividends back into the portfolio, so those dividends are buying more shares as well while prices are lower. Now, if we come down here, we're going to look at a few different charts. You can see my total holdings currently sitting at around 32. I would like to get this down to a little bit closer to around 25 moving forward in the future, but that is a work in process. Now, the other two charts we're going to glance at right here are my cost and market value chart. As you can see when I blow this up, SCHD by far the largest position in my dividend portfolio, but basically we can just see the cost versus the market value for all of my positions. Come over here and we can see the growth of each of these positions as well, and right now my biggest winner is AVGO. I'm currently up around 65% on this position. For the most part, most of my positions were in the green before this past month, but some of them have dropped into the red, down a little bit more, have dropped into the red, but I still have quite a few winning positions, such as EPD up around 30%. You can see OHI up 31%. Right here, JP Morgan up around 29%. Caterpillar, I'm up over 35%. And then we have Apple over here. I'm up around 21%, as well as quite a few other positions that are doing pretty well, as you can see here. Now, a couple of my big losers as of right now, 3M, I'm down around 30%, Verizon around 16%, and Realty Income, they had a big drop this past month. I'm currently down around 12.5%. Now, if we come up here, we can see my stock allocation by each individual holding. And like I already pointed out, SCHD currently makes up around 48.4% of my entire dividend portfolio. I'm perfectly fine with this high quality dividend paying ETF making up around half of my position. I think it'll perform very well in the decades to come, but you can see my other large positions such as Microsoft currently makes up around 8%. It was around 10 or 11%, but after the dip over the past month and contributing quite a bit more capital, Microsoft is only around 8%. We can also see we have Texas Instruments around 3.5%. We have Lowe's around 3.4%, Vici Properties around 3%, and Realty Income sitting at around 3.5%. Now I'll go ahead and scroll down and we can see my stock allocation by individual industry. Currently ETFs around 48.4%, that is SCHD, but we also have technology at around 16%, real estate at around 8.3%, financials around 7.9%, and consumer cyclical sitting at 6.1%. And if I zoom back out over here, you can see my future portfolio outlook, but I'll come back and talk about this a little bit later in the video. But now I want to get to what everyone is interested in, and that's exactly how much dividend income I made in the month of October. And if I click on my dividend dashboard, I have quite a bit to go over here. So I'll go ahead and zoom in and we'll start touching on this. And we can see right here in the month of October, I made $216.49 in dividend income. Now that's quite a big drop off from the previous month of $594. That's because I received my largest dividend payment ever from SCHD in the month of September. So it's no surprise that this month was a little bit lower. But if we look at the past few months before that, we can see it was around 181, 186. So we're definitely still trending in the right direction. And if I scroll up, you you can see I hit a major milestone this past month. My expected yearly dividend income now sitting over $5,000 a year. That's absolutely phenomenal growth, and I'm now sitting at over $417.38 on average every single month. Now keep in mind, I did deploy quite a bit of capital this month because I was sitting on a fairly large cash position. So my cash position of 4.4% is the lowest it's been in a very, very long time. But if we jump back over to my dividend dashboard, we can see my portfolio dividend yield has started to climb up a little bit higher at around 3.82%. Typically, I like to see this a little bit closer to around 3.5%, but because I invested so much into SCHD the past month, their starting dividend yield has climbed quite a bit after their drop in share price, so that did push up the portfolio dividend yield by quite a bit. Now we can see my portfolio value still trending in the right direction, and although I saw quite a few of my stocks decline in the past month, because I contributed so much capital, it still climbed by quite a bit over the past month. Now right here is a chart that I think is extremely important that not enough people are tracking, and that's the dividend income you're receiving by each individual industry. You don't want all of your dividend income to be coming from one place because that puts you at quite a bit of risk if something were to happen to that industry. We can see SCHD makes up around 53.6% of my entire dividend income. Then we have around 8.6% of it coming from financials, real estate around 12.4%, consumer defensive close to 10%, and then technology makes up around 8.1% of my dividend income. If we scroll down a little bit lower, we can see my historical monthly dividend income. I already touched a little bit on this, but it is really cool to see just in the past year or past 2 years how far I have come. We can see back in March of around 2021, I received $2.35 in dividend income, and it's climbed quite a bit since then. If we look in May of 2022, around $68, it grew to $74, and it grew to $129. And again, the past couple of months have been pretty groundbreaking, around $594 and now $216.50. I expect November to be a pretty solid month, a little over $200 as well. And then I think December will be by far my largest month of dividend income ever, much higher than $594. Now the next chart we're looking at over here is my dividend yield on cost. This is basically just a way to see what the percent dividend yield on cost you're receiving from each individual position is. And if we scroll down a little bit further, we're going to see one of my favorite charts, and that's the projected annual dividend income, basically telling you how much dividend income you're going to be receiving annually. And I'm tracking it every single month, and it has climbed by quite a bit over just the past 3 or 4 months for quite a few different reasons. The first is over the past few months, as the market has dropped, I have contributed quite a bit more capital in my portfolio, but you also have to keep in mind that I reinvest all of my dividends, and I invest into high quality dividend growth companies that increase the amount they pay out in dividends over time. So it's no doubt, even if I don't contribute capital to my dividend portfolio, these dividend payments are going to continue to increase, and my projected annual dividend income is going to continue to increase over time. We can see back in September of 2022, it was sitting at around $1,345. At the time I plugged this in, it was sitting at $4,931, and like I pointed out, we're now sitting at over $5,000 a year in dividend income. So the snowball is really starting to roll quite nicely. Now, the last chart we'll look at quickly is my dividend income by each individual stock. You can see SCHD makes up by far the most of my dividend income, paying me almost $2,500 of all my dividend income, so almost 50%. Now we can see Altria Group is also a big dividend payer, around $319. Realty Income I receive around $288 from. Vici Properties around $240 from, and then Texas Instruments around $167. So you can see pretty much how much each position is paying me here. Now, the next thing I want to do is look at my dividend calendar. But first, I'd like to say thank you to Seeking Alpha for sponsoring this video. Seeking Alpha is my absolute favorite stock investment research platform, and I use it in nearly all of my videos, and I use it on a daily basis. It's great for getting quick insights in a stock, like I can see how much Altria Group is up over the past year, over the past 5 years, over the past 10 years. I have some really important metrics right here, but I can also dig deeper into them if I want to. I can click on financials and look at all their financial statements, and I can also jump into their dividend scorecard where we can see things like their dividend yield, dividend growth history, dividend safety metrics, and we can also see the dividend history for the company. We can quickly compare them to some of their peers as well if we'd like to do so, and I also love using the charting tools that they have where I can easily select the metrics that I'd like to see, but I can also easily compare them to some of their comparables. Say I wanted to compare them to BTI, I'd click here and click on update chart, and all of that data will automatically load in. If you're interested in using Seeking Alpha for yourself, then you can click the link in my description for a $50 coupon and a 7-day free trial. And if you aren't using a dividend calendar as a way to track your dividend income over time, you are really missing out for quite a few different reasons, and I'll show you why. I'll go ahead and zoom in, and essentially what we can see is how much dividend income I made each month, how much I've made from each individual position, but most importantly, I can see my dividend growth over time. So for example, look right here. Here's my realty income position. Realty income pays out dividends every single month. They also increase their dividend payments, and I also reinvest those dividends. So because of that, you can see month over month, my dividend payments continue to increase. Back in January of 2022, I received around $5.83 from them. Move forward just a little bit, you can see in September of 22, it was $6.03. Keep moving forward. In February of 2023, $8.18. If I scroll forward all the way to October, my dividend payment from realty income this month was $24.13. So it's very easy to see the snowball effect come into play. Now, right here, let's look at my dividend payments for October. You can see I received $19.82 from Coca-Cola, $83.40 from MO, $24.13 from Realty Income, $55.19 from Vici Properties, one of my favorite REITs, $10.79 from JP Morgan, $8.79 from JEPI. Scroll down a little bit further and we can see a small dividend payment from CSCO, and then a $12.77 dividend payment from MPW, and again, all that totaled up to be around $216.50. Now the next thing we'll look at is my daily dividend calendar, and this is basically just a way to see exactly how much dividend income you were paid each day of the month, and we can see my highest day so far in 2023 is $417.04, quite a bit higher than my 2022 highest day at $42.11. So if you see right here, here's the month of October. We could see my big day here on the 5th of around $63, big day on the 10th of around $83.40, a couple decent days here on the 12th and 13th, but then it slowed down by quite a bit. I had my small dividend payment on the 25th, and then a decent dividend payment on December 31st. So yes, it's extremely exciting to see these dividend payments grow every single month, as it leads me closer to my long-term goal of trying to live off of dividend income. And that's actually something that I track pretty closely. So if we come over here, I'll scroll all the way over to my live off of dividends analysis, and this essentially tells me how long it will take me to live off of dividend income. And if we jump over to my portfolio projections, you can see what I am projecting. I have my starting portfolio size listed here at $130,000, and I'm trying to contribute every single month $2,500 to my portfolio. I know that's aggressive, but I am trying to live off of dividends as fast as possible. I'm assuming a price growth rate of 7%, dividend growth rate of 7%, and a starting dividend yield of 3.5%. So if we jump over to my live off of dividends analysis, we can see exactly how long this will take. Here we're looking at the year, and here we're seeing if we can live off of dividend payments at that point. So I'll start scrolling down, and we can see after 5 years, we're still not there. After around 10 years, we're still not there. After 15 years, still not quite there. But you can see right here, after around 16 and a half years of contributing around $2,500 a month, I should be able to live off of dividend income because my monthly dividend payments will surpass my monthly cost of living. So if we scroll all the way up, we can see what this looks like visualized with this chart. I'll zoom out just a little bit, but this black line is my monthly cost of living. And one of the things you will notice is this line is slightly increasing over time because you have to keep in mind inflation is going to increase our cost of living over time. And this red line is my monthly dividend payments. Now you can tell the growth from this chart is exponential. That's the way dividend growth stocks operate because they continue to increase the amount they pay out in dividends. And when you reinvest dividends, the growth from dividend growth stocks is exponential, and right here is the point that I would be able to live off of dividend payments in around 16 and a half years. So again, a very exciting thing to see visualized. If we want to look at this on a somewhat smaller scale, I'll come down here and we can see my future portfolio outlook tab. We can see in about 5 years, if I reinvest dividends, I could be making $14,000 a year. In 15 years, around $58,000 a year. And here's what's really, really crazy. In 30 years, I could be making over $300,000 a year in dividend income if I continue to reinvest my dividends, and I would also have a portfolio value of over $8.8 million. Now again, that's assuming I reinvest all my dividends during that time period. If I were to not reinvest my dividend payments, you can see the results are pretty drastically different. 30 years from now, I'd be making around $136,000 a year with a portfolio of around $3.9 million. So there you go, there is a quick update on my dividend portfolio in the month of October. If you want to see exactly what positions I added capital to this month, then you can sign up for my free newsletter at the link in the description. If you'd like to be able to download the spreadsheet, then you can head over to my Patreon page at the link in the description as well. Also be sure to check out Seeking Alpha, one of my favorite platforms, also link in the description. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching the channel, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.